Okay. Good evening, guys. This is Dr. Narayani, Dean from School of Health Sciences, Mosa University. I'm going to teach you the module 560NTR016 Nutrition. Under Nutrition, we are going to learn Unit 1, Nutrition and Health today. Next. As the first part of this Unit 1, we are going to see some definitions. Includes what is nutrition. Nutrition is the science that interprets the nutrients and other substances in food that helps to maintain our body, that helps in growth and reproduction, health and disease of an organism. Or you can say a simple definition as nutrition is the nourishment or energy that is obtained from food consumption. Nutrition through the nutrients or through the food we are consuming, and that food consists of nutrients that helps the body to maintain and growth and also the development. And the next definition is health. The World Health Organization defined the standard definition for health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. That means the person should not contain any illness, any diseases. He should be physically, mentally, and socially all right. That is what health. The next, diet. What is meant by diet? The food that a person normally takes every day. You see, we are eating food to produce energy so that we will do our daily life. So during intaking food, we should take the food with correct proportion. That is what the food that a person normally takes every day. That is called as what? Diet. Then malnutrition. Next definition is malnutrition. Malnutrition means an incorrect or imbalanced intake of nutrients, or our body needs carbohydrate source, protein source, vitamins, minerals, many nutrients our body needs. If there is any incorrect or imbalance in the proportion of nutrients, then it results in malnutrition. Mal means mistake. You know, is it? Mal means mistake. So, imbalanced nutrition results in malnutrition. Then undernutrition. Under means insufficient. That means insufficient intake of nutrients is called as undernutrition. Then overnutrition. You see, some people doesn't have food because of scarcity. Some people have eat lot of food. They don't have any worries. They have lot of food to eat. So that type of people simply sit and simply eat excessive quantity of food for an extended period of time. That results in overnutrition. For example, some diseases I have noted here, that is like obesity. Obesity means you become very fat. Then diabetes, everyone. Is it? Yeah. So these all are some definitions you want to know in this nutrition and health. The next, as we are studying about the nutrition, we also we should also know about the nutrients. That's what I said. The intake of nutrients that maintains the correct nutrition in our body. What is meant by these nutrients? Nutrients are the organic or inorganic substances which help in our survival and in maintaining proper health. There are two types of nutrients we are intaking in our food. What all are they? Number one is macronutrients. macronutrients. Number 2 is micronutrients. Macronutrients record in large proportion. Micronutrients record in small amount. And the macronutrients includes carbohydrates, act as a source of energy in our body. Fats, it stores energy and act as messengers for producing protein in our body. Then proteins, helpful in metabolism, carriers of substances, then production of hormones. Then water helps in digestion, then exclusion of toxins. The micronutrients include vitamins and minerals, while vitamins converts food into energy and helps in repairing the cell damages. Minerals helps in body growth, maintains heartbeat, and also you help to produce strong bones. So these are the basic things, basic definitions you should know under the topic nutrition and health. Then the next one is principles of nutrition. What all are the principles? Principles means now we know what is meant by nutrition, intaking of food, right? With the correct proportion of nutrients. So we should have a schedule. What all are the things? What all are the food we want to eat? That's what the principles we are following in the nutrition. Number 1, eating a diet high in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and legumes. Because these vegetables, fruits, legumes at all containing carbohydrates, both macronutrients and micronutrients. As you know, what is meant by macro and micronutrients, that's why I'm simply saying that. Then second principle is choosing lean, low-fat sources of protein. Low-fat sources of protein. Because if you eat high fat, then it results in obesity. Then limiting sweets, soft drinks, and foods with added sugar, because this creates a disease called diabetes. We should include proteins, carbohydrates, and little good fat in all meals and snacks. What is that good fat? You see, we are getting many products from milk, cow milk, right? What all are the products? From cow milk we are getting yogurt, then cheese. These products are all good fat. But the treated fat, that acts as a bad fat. So we can eat good fat in our, good fat to add in our body, to add in our food, so that there will be no problem in our health. Then have a well-balanced breakfast. This is very, very important. You see, many of the people were skipping the breakfast. Actually, it results in a severe chronic diseases. Many people, without knowing this point, they are simply skipping the breakfast. What happens if we skip this breakfast? You see, because of the morning, breakfast only in our body, the metabolism is taking place in a correct manner. You know what is meant by metabolism, is it? What is meant by metabolism? The food what we are intaking in our body, it is simply converted into the last product. For example, carbohydrates. If we are eating sema, or if we are eating water, sema, let us keep the example as sema. Sema is the source of carbohydrates. This carbohydrates should be break down into glucose, and this glucose should be used as energy in our body. So, for maintaining, balancing this metabolism in our body, we should have a balanced breakfast. Then next, eat foods that promote good digestion and support your gut flora. Why? This is the main principle. Means, you see, nowadays we are eating the advanced food like pizza, burger. These at all results in bad digestion. That's why we should focus on good digestion food. Then avoid foods you are allergic to are intolerant. Some people may allergy to some food. For example, I'm saying if I eat over yogurt, if I add yogurt in my food, I will get allergy. So some people may have some allergy for some food. That should be avoided by that people. Then eat foods that taste good and allow your taste buds time to get used to new food. Then eat in rhythm. This is also one of the important principles. You see, normally most of the people in most of the countries, the people are eating as a three schedule, like 3 meals: morning, afternoon, and night. Or you can schedule to 5 to 6 mini meals at regular intervals throughout the day. But the research is saying that apart from this 3 meals, if we eat 5 or 6 mini meals, that is very good to our body because it improves the digestion process clearly. Then the important thing is eat in a relaxed state. Don't hurry to eat. Why? If we eat very fast, our stomach gets upset. So we want to eat in a relaxed state. Then next one is water. Water is our friend. We want to drink at least 8 glasses of water per day because water is the main thing, helps to flush out the difficult, horrible, terrible toxins, enhances our mood. You see, sometimes we feel dull, sometimes we feel happy, sometimes we feel very stressed. So during that bad time, like in our stress time, in our bad mood, we want to drink water. Then it helps in digestion. It relieves tiredness and aids weight loss. Our ancestors will advise us to drink at least 2 cups of water or 1 cup of water in the early morning. Why they are saying that? If we drink 1 cup of water in the early morning, it will activate our body. We will be very active for the whole day. So water relieves tiredness and also it helps for weight loss. These all are the principles of nutrition. Then next, third topic is role of nutrition in 3 things. One is in health. Second one is growth and development. Third one is illness, that is diseases. How this nutrition helps in health, growth and development and illness. Let us see one by one. Next, nutrition includes all those processes of a living being, whereby it takes food, digests it, and utilize the digested materials for number 1, it's survival. That's what I already told. Then number 2, growth, and the third one is repair of worn out parts of the body. If we have some illness in our body, that will also supported, that will also cleared by nutrition. I mean, proper proportions of nutrients which is intaking by food, not only by the medicines, it also composed with the food we are intaking with correct nutrients. Then next, nutrition is required for the following purposes. Number 1, growth and development. Body cells multiply regularly. You see, in our body, blood is circulating. So blood is circulating in our body continuously. For that circulation, it should be produced in a continuous manner. For example, RBC, red blood cell, is produced continuously in our body. Then tissue cells. Then in our body inside, many cells are producing continuously. For that, nutrition is required. Body cells multiply regularly. They increase in size also. For these process and to replace damaged and worn out tissues, new protoplasm is continuously required. So food helps in the formation of new cells in the body. Then next, It helps in the release of energy. Energy is required for performing various life processes like ingestion. Ingestion means taking food. Digestion, absorption, movement, coordination, secretion, circulation, respiration, etc. These processes is taking place in our body continuously. So during this process, energy is required. That is released by the oxidation of food in the protoplasm. How food is very important. I hope you will get by this point clearly, right? Then next, formation of organic substances. Many organic substances like enzymes and hormones are required by the living being. They are produced from the raw materials provided by food. We have lot of systems to produce hormones. For example, insulin is produced by pancreas, right? For this production of insulin, we need rich sources of nutrients. So that's also we are getting from the food, proper food. Then fourth one, regulating metabolic process. Food is required by the organisms for various metabolic activities for maintaining and repairing various parts. The food provides basic raw materials. You see, we are learning this point under the role of nutrition in health and growth and development. Okay. Then next, it gives resistance to infection. Food is very helpful in building up the resistance against the diseases. For example, what can I say? We are getting fever or we are getting cold. We are affected by fever. Fever is causing by sometimes by bacteria or sometimes by virus. When this fever causing organism, microorganism enters into our body immediately responds to that virus. So it produces antibodies. Sometimes within a day or within 2 days, we will get normal from this infection. Why? Because of our food. If suppose, normally we are having that immunity, we are having that capacity to fight against the antigen by means of getting immunity from the food what we are intaking. If suppose it is not worked out in our body, we can go for medicine. So these all are the role done by food in health and growth and development. Next, the special one is role of nutrition in illness. Inadequate nutrition during infancy, childhood or adolescence can restrict growth, weakens immunity, and increases the incidence of infections and diseases. That's what I said. Yeah, based on our food culture, we may have natural immunity in our body. So if any infection takes place in our body, we have, or our body responds to that antigen. But if we took inadequate nutrition, then it weakens the immunity in our body and results in the infection of many diseases. Like here I have written some examples only: cardiovascular diseases, stroke, deficiency diseases. You see, if we take inadequate iron, then it results in iron deficiency disease. Then if we take inadequate nutrients of vitamins, minerals, it may result in even anemia. Many deficiency diseases are there. Then immunity disorders, chronic sickness, and finally death. So proper nutrition is needed to prevent illness. Even from the childhood itself, we need proper nutrition. And also to re-establish the balance and reduce further issues. If suppose we are infected with some disease, doctor advise us to take specific foods. Is it? I hope you may experience this, taking different foods during illness. We can see some examples. I have denoted the table here. You can go up the table. Next, nutrients to be consumed when we were ill. For example, protein. It is important for growth and development, provides energy, helps to repair parts of the body. So if we have any cut in our tissues, we can take protein-rich food so that the cut or that cut in the tissue will repair very fast. Some food resources also I have added here: meat, fish, egg, milk, lentils, and nuts are the protein-rich sources. Then vitamin A is very important for eyesight and reduce illness. Nowadays we are always in our mobile phone or laptop, is it? So our eyesight should be very clear. We want to maintain eyesight very clear one. For that, we can take vitamin A resources food like dark leafy greens, pineapple, fish. Then vitamin B12. It keeps blood and nerve cells healthy. Then vitamin C. It heals wounds, repairs and maintains bones and teeth. So if you have any infection in teeth, during that time, you can eat this vitamin C rich food like bell peppers, papaya, mango, tomatoes. Then zinc. Brain development and reduce illness. If someone is having very low IQ power, then you can add zinc in your food as little large. Like food resources include beef, lentils, and shrimp. Then iron. Everyone knows that if there is a deficiency in iron, it results in anemia. Iron is very important for red blood cells production and it reduces illness. Then fluids, very important because our body consists of 70 to 80% of water, is it? That is blood. Keeps you hydrated to prevent headaches, nausea, vomiting, and also tiredness. We can get this this fluid from or by taking water and fruit juices regularly. So here I am stopping the role of nutrition in health, growth and development, and illness. Next, we are entering into the topic of nutritional assessment. What is nutritional assessment? It is an in-depth evaluation of both objective and subjective data related to an individual's food, nutrient intake, lifestyle, and medical history. What is this objective data means? For example, they will measure the length, height, weight of our body. Normally, when we go to hospital, if we have any infection, at first they will check the weight. Is it? Why they are checking the weight? Because maybe there were some diseases related with the reduced weight. That's what objective data. Subjective data means medical history, like medical history, or also maybe we may come from poor economic conditions. So because of this, we may have some infection. That's what. So based on the objective and the subjective data, the informations were collected and stored. That is called as what? Nutritional assessment. Why they are doing this assessment? The purpose of nutritional screening is to rapidly identify patients at high nutrition risk. You see, nowadays heart attack is very common, right? But when they admit, they will go for treatment, but they want to analyze why this heart attack happens to this person. What is the reason? So they will go for this nutritional assessment. Okay. There were two methods for assessing this nutrition. Number one, direct method. Number two, indirect method. Direct methods were summarized as A, B, C, D. So for the remembrance, I'm saying that this is the ABCD method. You can easily remember. A stands for anthropometric measurement. B stands for biochemical method. C stands for clinical findings. And D stands for dietary evaluation method. Anthropometric measurement, they will measure the length, height, weight, body circumference, then skin fold thickness. Sorry, they have taken ICK. Then biochemical methods to analyze blood, urine, and body tissues. For example, apart from infection, a lady go for pregnancy test. What the doctors will do, they will check at first the urine, right? Then next they will go on for blood test. Or if suppose the person having diabetes, at first they will check the urine. Then next they will go for blood test. Then clinical finding. Under clinical finding is physical examination, like they will study about the history and the symptoms observed in our body. Sometimes if we have rashes, then okay, this person is having rash because of this. Suppose the person is having rashes. Why this rashes is there? Is it any bacterial infection or viral infection? Then fourth one, dietary evaluation method. They talk about foods and the quantities consumed, then accessibility of food. So these are the direct methods. Next one is indirect method. I have attached the pictures of what anthropometry. In the first picture, they are measuring the length of a child. Then second, measuring height. Then third, measuring weight. Then fourth, they are measuring the head circumference. Then next, clinical findings. They are checking edema in a child. They just press the skin in the foot. So when they press like this, there is the skin is pressing inside. So it shows there may be a edema. Why it happened? They will go for further analysis. Then there is a spot in the eye. How they are observing a spot in the eye. Then goiter. Simply it there is a swelling of neck. So it is visible. Then if there is a goiter, then they say, oh, this is an iodine deficiency. Okay, yeah. So these all are some clinical findings or physical examination. Then next, indirect methods. So direct methods we have seen about A, B, C, D methods. In indirect methods, sometimes there may be diseases because of ecological variables like agricultural crop production. You see, some people they eat only tapioca as a main food. Some people they eat seema as a main food. Some people eat wheat or maize as a main food. So based on this, food intaking or based on the production of agricultural crops, there may be a chance to cause infections or diseases. So they will go for ecological variables analysis. Then economic factors. Then cultural and social habits. Why this cultural and social habits they are assessing means some people they have some ignorance to eat some important nutrients, to take important nutrients because of their cultural habits. contain vital like in a family, the members will die very soon. Like in the 40 age itself, they will die from first generation, then second generation, the third generation. If it continues, then they will go for that assessment also. Why it is happening? So these are the indirect research. And the last one is cultural aspects of nutrition. This cultural aspect of nutrition is coming from actually indirect research, okay? But we are studying as a separate heading. Next slide. Cultural aspects of nutrition. Man's nutritional behavior should be studied not only from the physiological and the psychological standpoint, but also from the socio-cultural point of view. Why? I already told that. Some culture, they have some ignorance of eating some specific foods that may cause deficiency of specific nutrients. So that will be result in specific severe diseases. Man is a social being, so his deeply rooted food habits have developed within a culture, and they vary widely from one society to another, include food production, processing, and cooking. That's what I already told in the indirect method. They may have different food habits, like based on the country also. You see, Zambia, you are eating maize as a first food, right? Maize. Then, what can I say? In some other country, even in India, the Indian people are eating main food as rice. North Indians were eating the main food as wheat. So, country ways the food is changing, or the food intaking habit is changing. By this habit also, there may be the changes of intaking nutrients resulting in diseases. So we want to know some examples in some places why they are ignoring something. We want to know. Next, in our syllabus, we are studying two examples under cultural aspects of nutrition. One is taboo and another one is belief. Taboo means a social or religious custom prohibiting or restricting a particular practice, association with a particular person, place, or thing. Simply, we can say it is an activity based on religious beliefs or moral, or we are restricting some food to intake because of religious or moral context. Here I have added some examples. Next, in Nigeria, meat and eggs are not usually given to children. Why? Because parents believe that it will make the children sick, or it will make the children very strong. The children should be very soft, right? That's why. So the Nigerian people were avoiding to give, restricting to give meat and eggs to the children. Number 2, eating cat is strictly prohibited in America and Europe. They are giving high punishment to the people who are eating cat in America and Europe. Then fish avoiders. I mean, there were some society, there were some people in the society, they were not taking fish because of their culture. There were many people in Egypt, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Somalia, and Kenya. They eat only the agricultural crops. They eat the vegetables. They will not eat the fish. Then the consumption of human flesh is forbidden by Hinduism. In Islam, the consumption of blood or food made from blood is prohibited. This is what? Because of the moral context or religious context. Even you see many Christians, they won't eat non-veg like meat, chicken, during Lent days. We can say many things. So this is what the prohibition of or restricting something to eat. That is called as what? Taboo. Even restricting something as a character, that is also some examples of taboo. For example, I can say abortion. Abortion is restricted by some religion. Is it? Then what can I say? Intermarriage, that is also restricted in some religions. This is I'm saying apart from food taboo. So taboo means restricting or preventing something to do because of the religious or moral context. Then next one is belief. This is also an example under cultural aspects of nutrition. And acceptance that something exists or is true without proof. Everyone knows what is when they believe, right? Without knowing the strong reason, the people are avoiding to eat something. That is what it is. Example. In South Sudan, women and girls in this part of country were deprived of eating protein-rich foods. You know the example for protein-rich foods. Example, milk. Even they avoid to drink milk. I have studied in some research paper. South Sudan people were avoided to drink milk. Why? Due to negative cultural beliefs like bad luck, misfortune, and miscarriages. You know the meaning of misfortune and miscarriages, right? Then here I already said in the taboo. Food may be prohibited during certain religious periods. During Lent days, the Christians were avoided to or restricted to eat non-veg. And some food were restricted to some classes of people. For example, everyone knows priest. Priests have some list of foods. They should not eat that under the congregation they are working. If they eat, God will punish them. This is what we do. So, in today's class, we learned about new definition of some terms like nutrition, health, diet, malnutrition, undernutrition, overnutrition, nutrients, type of nutrients. Then, second, we have studied the principles of nutrition. Then third, we have studied role of nutrition in health. Then growth and development and illness. Then fourth, we have studied about what cultural aspects of nutrition. And before that, we have studied nutrition assessment. So these 5 topics we have studied in the unit 1. Hereby I am ending the unit 1 today.